I wasn't supposed to notice it. Not because it was hidden, but because it was too ordinary to question. It started with something small. So small I almost ignored it, and if I had, my life would have stayed exactly the same. But I didn't, and once I saw it, I couldn't unsee it. I've always been the kind of person who follows systems. Wake up at the same time, check emails, go to work, come back, repeat. Nothing dramatic, nothing chaotic, just predictable. I worked as a data analyst for a mid-sized logistics company. Numbers, patterns, efficiency. That was my world. I liked it that way. There's comfort in knowing what to expect. Most people think they want excitement, but what they really want is stability, something they can rely on. At least that's what I thought, until I started noticing something that didn't make sense. It wasn't at work, it wasn't some big discovery or moment of clarity. It was my neighbor, Mr. Khan. He lived 2 doors down. Retired, quiet, always polite, the kind of person you nod to but never really talk to. Every morning at exactly 6:30, he would step outside, stand still for a moment, and then go back inside. No phone, no coffee, no conversation. Just step out, pause, go back in. At first, I didn't think anything of it. People have routines. But then I realized something. He never missed a day. Not once. Rain, heat, holidays, didn't matter. 6:30, step out, pause, back inside. Perfect consistency. I only noticed because my schedule shifted. A late project, new deadlines. I started waking up earlier, and suddenly I was seeing things I had never seen before. Patterns. Not just with him, but everywhere. The barista at the coffee shop who always looked exhausted except on Wednesdays. My coworker who checked his phone every 12 minutes, almost like a timer. The delivery driver who took the exact same route even when traffic made no sense. At first, it felt like coincidence, but the more I paid attention, the less random it looked. It felt structured, like people were following invisible instructions. I didn't say anything, because what would I even say? Hey, I think everyone is acting according to some hidden pattern. It sounded ridiculous, so I did what I always do. I observed. A week passed, then 2, and something shifted. The more I paid attention, the more predictable everything became, not in a vague way, in a precise way. I started knowing things before they happened. Small things at first. When someone would walk into the office, when my boss would call a meeting, even what questions clients would ask. It wasn't guessing, it was recognition. Patterns repeat. That's what I had always believed, but this felt different. This felt like people weren't just repeating behavior, they were following scripts. The first time it really bothered me was a Tuesday. I was sitting in a meeting, half listening, half watching, and I realized I had already seen this exact conversation before. Not literally, but structurally. The same objections, the same responses, the same outcome. I knew what my manager was going to say before he said it, word for word. And when he did, something in me went quiet. That's when I went back to Mr. Khan. The next morning, I waited. 6:29, then 6:30. He stepped outside, paused, and instead of going back in, I spoke. Why do you do that? He looked at me, not surprised, not confused, just calm, like he had been expecting the question. It took you longer than I thought, he said. That was the first moment I realized this wasn't random. What do you mean? I asked. He didn't answer immediately. He just looked at the street, then back at me. Most people never notice, he smiled slightly, that they're repeating the same day. I felt something tighten in my chest. That's not true, I said. People make choices. Do they? He asked. It wasn't confrontational, it was observational. I didn't like where this was going. I make choices, I said. He nodded. Of course you do, he replied. But tell me, how many of them are new? I didn't answer because I didn't know how to. He stepped closer. Tomorrow, he said, don't follow your routine. That's it? That's it. And then he went back inside, like he always did. The next morning, I tried. I really did. I woke up and immediately reached for my phone, same as always. Stopped, put it down, got out of bed differently, walked to the kitchen, then stopped again. Everything felt off, like I was interrupting something. I changed small things, made coffee before checking messages, took a different route to work, didn't sit at my usual desk, and something strange happened. The day didn't flow the same way. People reacted differently. Conversations shifted. Even timing felt unstable. It wasn't dramatic, but it was noticeable, like I had stepped slightly out of alignment. That's when I understood the first part of the secret. Most people don't live consciously. They execute patterns. But that wasn't the real secret. Not yet, because patterns alone don't explain everything. The real question is, who builds them? Over the next few days, I kept testing it. Small disruptions, different choices, and every time I broke a pattern, something else changed. Not just for me, for others too. That's when it got uncomfortable, because it meant something I didn't want to accept. If patterns shape behavior and breaking them changes outcomes, then most of what we call life isn't as free as we think. I went back to Mr. Khan. This time, I didn't wait. Who sets the patterns? I asked.
I felt a chill run down my spine. Think about it, she continued. Every time he corrects you, how does he sound? Calm, I said. Certain? Yes. And you? I swallowed. Confused. Exactly, she said. And people don't follow confused. They follow certainty. That hit hard, because it was true. Every time I tried to defend myself, I sounded unsure. And every time Samir spoke, he sounded like he knew exactly what he was saying, even when he didn't. But I didn't know something. That wasn't even the real trick. That was just the surface. The real manipulation, Aisha said, is something called framing. I blinked. Framing? She nodded. He presents information in a way that shapes how people interpret it before they even think. I felt my chest tighten. Like the meeting? Yes, she said instantly. He didn't say you made a mistake. I frowned. He literally did. No, she said calmly. He said the delay happened because you didn't follow instructions. I paused. Because that was true. That's what he said. It sounds like a fact, she continued, but it's actually a frame. My mind started racing. Once people accept that frame, everything you say after that sounds like an excuse. And suddenly, it all made sense. That's why no one listened to me, not because I was wrong, but because the story was already decided before I even spoke. My hands started shaking again, but this time, not from confusion, from realization. Because if that was true, then everything over the past 6 months wasn't random. It was planned. That's when everything changed, Aisha said quietly. What do you mean? He's not just correcting you, she said. He's positioning you. For what? She hesitated, then said it. To replace you. Silence. Heavy. Cold. Because suddenly, every moment, every comment, every doubt had a purpose, and I didn't even see it. That's when I had to make a decision. Stay quiet or fight back. But here's the problem. How do you fight something that people can't even see? That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying everything in my head, looking for proof, looking for something real, because feelings weren't enough. I needed evidence, something undeniable. That's when I remembered something small, something I almost ignored. A message from 3 weeks ago. Samir had corrected me in a meeting, saying I missed a deadline. But I had a feeling back then something wasn't right. So I checked. I opened my email, scrolled back, And there it was, the timestamp, the file, everything. I hadn't missed the deadline. I had sent it early. My heart started pounding because for the first time, I had proof. But I didn't know something. This was just the beginning, because what I was about to uncover next was way bigger than one mistake. The next morning, I went to Aisha. "I found something," I said. She looked at me carefully. "Good," she replied, "but we need more." "More?" She nodded. "If you want to break the illusion, you have to expose the pattern." Pattern. That word echoed in my head, because that's exactly what this was, a pattern hidden in plain sight. So we started digging. Emails, messages, meeting notes, and slowly, piece by piece, the truth started coming out. Multiple mistakes that weren't mistakes, instructions that were never given, decisions that were twisted. And then we found it, the thing that changed everything. A private message between Samir and upper management. My name in it, my future in it. Armand has been underperforming lately. I felt sick, because now I understood. This wasn't just manipulation. This was preparation. He wasn't just controlling how people saw me. He was building a case, quietly, carefully, step by step. And I had been helping him by doubting myself. That's the real trick. Not just changing what others believe about you, but changing what you believe about yourself. That's when we made a plan. We wouldn't confront him privately. No, that wouldn't work. Because in private, he controls the frame. We needed something else, something public, something undeniable, a moment where he couldn't twist the story. And that moment came 3 days later. Another meeting. Same room, same people. But this time, I was ready. My heart was racing, my hands were cold, but my mind was clear. Samir started speaking. Same calm voice, same confidence, same control. "This report has inconsistencies," he said. And then he looked at me. "Armand, can you explain?" There it was, the setup, the frame, the trap. But this time, I didn't fall into it, because what happened next shocked everyone. I took a slow breath, and for the first time in months, I didn't feel confused. I felt calm, because now I understood the game. Samir was watching me, waiting for me to panic, to stumble, to sound unsure again. But I didn't.
Khan again. This time, I didn't wait for morning. I knocked on his door. He opened it like he knew it would be me. "You've gone further than most," he said. "I need to understand the rest," I replied. He stepped aside and let me in. The house was simple, clean, minimal, nothing unnecessary. It matched him. "What happens when you break enough patterns?" I asked. He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he poured 2 cups of tea and sat down. "That depends," he said. "On what?" "On whether you're ready to see the cost." That word stayed with me. Cost. Cost of what? "Awareness," he said. I frowned. That doesn't make sense. He nodded slightly. "It will." He leaned forward. "Tell me," he said, "have you noticed how people react when you break their patterns?" I thought about it. The hesitation, the discomfort, the subtle tension. "Yes," I said. "They don't like it." He nodded. "Because you're not just changing your pattern, you're interfering with theirs." That hit harder than I expected, because it explained something I hadn't fully processed yet, why things were starting to feel different. At work, people had started responding to me differently. Nothing obvious, just slight shifts, less predictable, more cautious, like something about me didn't fit the system anymore. You're stepping out of alignment, Mr. Khan said, and when you do that, you stop being easy to predict. And that's a problem? For systems? He said. Yes. I didn't like how that sounded. Systems? I asked. Social systems, behavioral systems, expectations, he said calmly. Everything around you runs on patterns. That's how it stays stable. And breaking them creates friction. That word again, friction. I sat back. So what? People just stay in patterns to keep things smooth? Mostly, he said, because smooth feels safe. That explained a lot, but it also raised a bigger question. What happens if I keep going? This time, he didn't soften the answer. You'll outgrow the life those patterns created. Silence, because I understood what that meant. It didn't mean becoming more successful or more productive. It meant change, real change, the kind you can't reverse. I left his house that night with something heavier than curiosity, responsibility, because now I knew, and knowing changes the rules. Over the next few weeks, things started shifting faster, not because I forced them, but because I stopped following defaults. I questioned decisions, changed routines, said no where I used to say yes, spoke up where I used to stay quiet, and slowly my life stopped looking the same. Opportunities changed, people changed, even my priorities started shifting. It wasn't dramatic, it was gradual, but it was undeniable. And then something happened that forced everything into focus. I was called into a meeting, unexpected, senior management, not my usual level. I sat down, already sensing something was off. The conversation started normal, then shifted. We've noticed some changes, my manager said. That word again, changes. In what way? I asked. You're less predictable, he said carefully. I almost smiled, because he didn't know how accurate that was. Is that a problem? I asked. There was a pause. It can be, he said, and in that moment, everything connected. Patterns don't just shape your life, they define your role in systems, and when you break them, you stop fitting that role. That was the final part of the secret, and it was the one most people would avoid, because breaking patterns doesn't just change outcomes, it changes identity. The meeting ended without a clear conclusion, but I didn't need one. I already knew. There are two ways to live. One is predictable, safe, structured. You follow patterns and life stays manageable. The other is conscious, uncertain, dynamic. You break patterns and life starts responding differently. Neither is right or wrong, but they are not the same. I still wake up every morning, still go to work, still live a normal life. From the outside, nothing looks different, but inside, everything is. Because now I see the patterns, and more importantly, I know I can change them. Not all at once, not perfectly, but enough. And that's the part most people never realize. You don't need to change everything. You just need to interrupt the pattern once, because one break leads to another, and eventually you're not repeating your life anymore. You're choosing it. So if there's one thing I'd leave you with, it's this. Pay attention to what you repeat, not what you say, not what you plan, what you actually do over and over again. Because hidden inside those patterns is the life you're building, and the part no one tells you. You've been building it the same way for longer than you think. The only question is, are you going to keep repeating it, or finally break it?